Hey Scrap Mart friends, this is Jen from the design team coming to you with a really quick video today showing you a couple of tips on how to work with the new Sunburst border. It is one of my favorite borders that Quickutz has come out with. Prior to this, I loved the bead border, and I had always hoped that they'd come out with a larger version, so this is kind of a larger, chunkier version. But we've heard some concerns from customers that all of the little detail work can be problematic to work with or take a while to work with, and I've discovered a couple of tips that I think will help you use this border more efficiently. So what I've got is my revolution and the border today, and if you can zoom in, I've already cut one just with the border as is, and you can see you get a lovely detail on this border, but it comes out of your machine intact. And so in order to take it apart, you've got to work on punching out all of these center sunbursts, and then you actually have to get some kind of tool to poke out the small holes. So that takes a while, it makes a mess, and leaves you with a bunch of hanging chads. And so as a result, you might not be inclined to reach for this as often. But I found a few tips that I think will help you use this more efficiently. And it's wonderful, though, that it comes out intact, because you can use this on your page as is with kind of an embossed detail look, or if you want a monochromatic look, you can go ahead and use the border as it immediately comes out of your machine. But if you want to back it in another color, I have a couple of suggestions. First of all, we're going to need a shim, and I've used a fairly thin cardstock shim that I'm going to put down on my revolution underneath my border die. And that is just going to allow us to get a better, cleaner cut when we run the border through the machine. So I've just using some yellow cardstock here. I've got obviously my shim on the bottom, my die foam side up on the top, my paper good or pattern side down, whatever you're working with. I've got smooth cardstock, so it doesn't matter. Oops, get the machine going. Oops. And sometimes when you work with a shim, it's a little bit more difficult to get it engaged. You don't want to use a really thick cardstock shim. You just want to use one that gives you enough pressure that's going to give a little bit of a cleaner cut on all of those little circle details. So now I've got my border cut out, and as you can see, some of these are already starting to fall off. And the trick that I have to remove those small circles is using a normal lint brush. So if you have any kind of pet in the house, you might have one of these. You could also try some removable tape, but I found the lint brush works better. So you just lay your die cut on a flat surface, and if you see, I'm rolling with the lint brush, and it's taking up almost all of those on the first try. Oh, am I showing that? And so you can continue to work through this, and it will pick up almost all of those little holes and even the center strips. And you might want to punch those out first so you don't run the risk of tearing your die cut. And if you're using sturdy cardstock, that typically isn't a problem. But this is a thinner cardstock, so I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. And incidentally, you can use these loose on your page just as an extra decoration. And then carefully keep rubbing. And as you work through, you'll get most of them up with the lint brush. And you might have a few hanging chads at the end, or a few that are just stuck that you'll need to go ahead and use your hole punching tool with. But for the most part, this works really well to get almost all of those circles open. And I have one that's done for you. And I've done it in yellow with white on the inside, actually, because I think if you cut this in half, it's going to look like lemon wedges. So that's the trick on how to not make a mess and get those little holes opened up quickly. The second issue is, how do you back this if you want to put a different color of cardstock behind it without using a wide strip? And I found that a circle punch that is 1.5 inches, so if you see on the back, I just have a bunch of circle punches that I use to fill this. And I'm going to get my ruler to make sure it's 1.5. It is exactly a 1.5 inch circle. And so if you use a normal circle punch, let's see, and I'll pull this one up. Behind, you see it gives you the exact correct size. So all you do is take your glue pen on there and work through. and this one didn't take me long at all to put together. So hopefully those are a couple of tricks that will get you using this Starburst border more often and enjoying it. And then the last thing is just remember that you can always cut this die cut in half or just mount it on a page so that you've got a decorative scallop border. So I think you'll find a lot of uses for this border. Scrapmart.com has them in stock right now, so don't hesitate, pick one up, and I'm sure you will love it. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.